The first round of the French presidential elections took place over the weekend, and they came out more or less as expected, with Francois Hollande, who is the socialist candidate, coming out on top. The second vote-getter was the incumbent president, Nicolas Sarkozy, who represents the center-right, and those two will go on to compete in the second round on May 6th. The bigger surprise of the day was that Marine Le Pen, who represents the far right, garnered about 18% of the vote, pretty high margin, strong showing for the far right, not inconsistent with what's been going on throughout other parts of Europe, where the two main center-left and center-right parties have tended to converge toward the center, leaving more room for parties on the far right and far left. And the far right has generally done better than the far left because of concern about immigration and the intrusions of globalization. I think there are three things to keep an eye on in the coming weeks, the second round set for May 6th. One is, what will happen to that large block of voters that went with Marine Le Pen? Will they all flock to Nicolas Sarkozy, which is what he would like? The answer is probably not in sufficient numbers to carry him through as the victor. The polls suggest that about 50% of those that voted for Le Pen will vote for Sarkozy. About 20% will vote for Hollande. The others won't vote, and that's because there is a strong anti-Sarkozy element in play now. And if you look at the numbers, that's not enough to put Sarkozy ahead. There will be at least one televised debate where Hollande and Sarkozy will go head-to-head. That will be important, but at least for now, I would say Hollande has the favorite. He's the favorite to win. Second thing to keep an eye on is foreign policy, the traditional issues of security. If we do see an Hollande victory, is he going to expedite the departure from Afghanistan? Will he distance himself from Sarkozy's decision to move into NATO's military integrated structure? Will there be increased transatlantic strain? There, I think the answer is probably not, simply because he doesn't have much room, Hollande, nor would Sarkozy if he is to win. There will be pressure to keep France in lockstep with NATO allies, particularly with the Chicago NATO summit looming at the end of May. If Hollande does win, he will be in office only for a short time before that summit takes place. The third thing to keep an eye on is the Eurozone crisis, and here is where I think the real issues are in play. Hollande says he wants to increase spending instead of focusing so much on austerity. He wants to revise the fiscal pact. He will put pressure on Chancellor Angela Merkel in Germany. It remains to be seen whether he succeeds in doing that. But I think there are two outcomes. One is that Merkel is able to pressure Hollande back into the same mold as Sarkozy, and that is generally doing what he is told from Berlin. The other is that Hollande is able to ally with others who want to see more stimulus and less austerity. And that would include a Spanish government that is looking to wiggle out of their current austerity package. Mr. Monti, the technocratic prime minister in Italy, who has already said Europe needs more stimulus and less austerity. Perhaps the Dutch, whose government is now in trouble because of their austerity package. This is where the interesting issues lie. I think Obama would like Hollande to push, assuming he's the president, to push for more stimulus because that may mean more growth in Europe. The worst outcome would be a major rift between Merkel and Hollande, which could lead to a political crisis within the EU. The markets would certainly not like that. And then one sees a financial crisis on the other side of the Atlantic that could wash to this side of the Atlantic just as our presidential election gets into full swing.